I did a video recording yesterday and I was transparent about my financial situation, the fact that life is incredibly hard at the moment, and even in our lowest moments, there's usually like a little silver lining. And I made the point as well within the video that, people can try to define you by your bank balance, your wealth or lack of wealth. But that's up to them if that's what they want to define you by, because our personalities far outweigh any superficial things. So it's really important, up to people what they prioritize in life, isn't it? And I think you see that just far too often where people are that superficial. They only gravitate around people who they feel can elevate them financially. It's sad, because all of us are far more than that. Um, so yeah, just to put it into perspective, I just this is the video I did. I put benefits in crisis, a system not fit for purpose. So it's worth checking that one out. That was just me talking about the financial situation at the moment, how hard it is, and I was very transparent throughout the video. But something else just come up, and I thought, well, that sort of gets the conversation in a different direction. So I didn't want people to think like if I only spoke on the new video, for instance, what I'm going to do now is like without referencing the previous one, it might not be so clear um, what the previous content was, because in no way am I boasting about anything. My life's freaking hard, and I've already shown that in the contents of that video. So on the new one, I just saw this little clip, and it said, "Just a reminder, you are doing well, the average Brit." Now, of course, I don't tick all the boxes. I've just said my life's really hard, but there's a couple of little bits there that just stood out to me. If you look at that, like has a mortgage of £203,000. A lot of people nowadays can't get mortgages. It's a nightmare, especially if you're single. It's not that common. I don't think it's as common as it used to be. I'm transparent though, so I've got social housing. I have a house, 2-bedroom house, and literally my rent is only £450 a month. It's not a lot at all, is it? So yeah, I would love to have a mortgage, just like a lot of people would, and it'd give me far more options. But the rent's cheap. The rent's cheap, and it is a house. Um, and although I don't maybe have the facility to just up and leave, I can swap. So you have the opportunity, if someone was interested in living where I am, I'm interested in living where they are. You can do mutual exchanges anywhere in the country. So that's an option. There's also an internal one where you can do through, if for a specific reason, if you need to go somewhere else in the local area. But anyway, that's me being transparent. I'd say that's good. I think that's pretty good. So that's that option there I've got. Yeah, it has less than £1,000 in savings. Well, I discussed that yesterday. The fact that life is hard, and in hindsight, I should have been saving. When I was doing better, I should have been saving, and I think £1,000 personally should be our base zero. So we shouldn't wait to get to zero. We should treat £1,000 as zero, and that way, if you ever dip into it slightly, you're never in debt. It's just more like you owe yourself to fix it again. And I wish I'd done that earlier in life. Life teaches us lessons. I figured that out for myself. I realized that's something I want to be doing. So yeah, this video saying that people that have less than £1,000 in savings, it's like, yeah, I think most of us have gone down that wrong path. And again, it's not too late to change it. Yeah, I could talk about that now, and I could say I haven't got this. I could do a video in a year's time, and I have implemented those changes, and life is doing better. So again, I think people, so sort of gaining an opinion of someone based on like their present life circumstance. Yeah, we can change. Time moves forward to the present version. Okay, that's what's stuck at the moment. But in the future, something's different. And like I said, but you're still you. So, like for instance, if people are attracted in the future, or they're impressed with something in the future, the thing is, that's only of like maybe what you've accomplished or like your success. But like each of us were already us throughout the journey. It's just maybe some people just didn't give you any recognition, didn't appreciate you until they saw something else. And it's just, what can you do? It's like, I am just me. I am me all the way through. So anyway, so you got that. Purchased her first home in the late 30s, has over £2,000 in credit card debt. So the two of the things I noticed there was £2,000 in credit card debt. So this is where I'm transparent. I've already explained there that if we go by the savings, I don't have savings. Again, shame on me, and it's something I'm going to fix over the next few years. Remedy that. Yeah, salary not really there right now. It's quite, but I'm in a situation where I'm looking to adapt to change. And to be honest, when I'm looking at the jobs that I'm looking to apply for, they're realistically going to range between 28 and 32 grand a year. That's really what. So when it says 34, roughly round, it's not too far off, is it? Mortgage, yeah, okay, it'd be nice to own the home. But again, I've just discussed that my rent is cheap anyway, and it's long term, it's stable. Made one late payment in the last 18 months. Okay, I made a few late payments, but here nor there. Over £34,000 worth of debt. No, I don't have that. That's the thing. So I was thinking, that got me straight away thinking, okay, people might be, and this is the thing, it's all about people's presentation. I'm just an open book. So maybe if I didn't speak so openly about things, maybe people wouldn't think that you're struggling for money, you have all these things going on. But I'm open and I'm transparent. £34,000 worth of debt. I don't have that. I have smaller amounts, like we just said. That's separate by the look of it to the credit card. So I have a £500 credit card debt because I only recently got a credit card a few months ago, and it was just a few things I bought. It was never frivolous. It wasn't stupid. I got a new camera. The camera if you go back about 3 months, you'd see the camera quality was worse. I got a £100 camera. I got a new mic arm, was £100. I can't remember everything else. It was all to do with the setup, pretty much. Really, most of it was to do with my setup, and a couple of other bits. But again, it's only £500. So it's like, let's get that paid off. It's not a hard amount of money, is it? So that's fine. And again, it's what I'm showing. So on the face of it, if you don't look at debts and you just look at incomes and stuff, I look like I'm in the worst possible position ever. But actually, my sort of struggles are really just immediate. They're just immediate struggles. They don't go that deep. Like the roots are not that deep of the problem. It's not that deep. But yet other people, maybe they posture as having more, but behind their back is a load of debts. And it's maybe they don't admit that. Maybe they drive around in a fancy car, but their payments are like £500 a month. My car doesn't cost me anything a month. I paid for it outright. It cost me £3,000. I bought it a few years ago, but 2 or 3 years ago, 2023, I think. I think it's 2023. Yeah, I think so. I'm getting lost with the dates. But yeah, it's my favourite car. I wouldn't even have a different car. Ford Mondeo. I love Ford Mondeos. Mine's the fastest model. It's a 2.5 litre engine. It's fast. It's rapid. It's literally got 5. Most cars only have, I think, the 5 gears and the reverse. Mine's got 6 gears and a reverse. Mine's rapid, and it literally has all the features. It has a multi-CD changer. I'm not boasting. I'm just saying what it's got because I want to make the point here, and drink holders and all sorts. And again, I'm not saying it to boast. What I'm saying is that mine's paid off and it's not an extreme amount of money. But there's some people that are paying £500 a month just for a brand. And just because it's the latest model, it's like brand new. I can't remember what year mine is. I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember the year. But it's like, they don't even make them anymore. And they're my favorite brand of car. So I wouldn't even trade that. If someone offered me a brand new Mercedes, I like my car. I just want my car working. So yeah, I really like my car. So it's, like I said, it's fast. It's big. It's like a sedan, if you like to call it sedans. That's what I like. A lot of SUVs have replaced them now, which is what's annoying me because that's why they stopped making it. But anyway, don't want to digress too far off that, but just to make the point that I'm not making car payments. So the reality is where maybe my situation's a bit tighter and a bit harder to manage. It's not like I'm on the verge of losing anything as a consequence, Like the car's paid for. So yeah, you still have to pay your car tax, you have to pay car insurance, you still have to pay MOT and things like that, but the same as everybody else, So when you look at the debts, for instance, I can't think off the top of my head. There's obviously the odd one here, the odd one there. There's a couple of little things I've got to repay that I've got payment plans on that I'm actually paying back bit by bit. which are quite easily. I think one I owe about £100 now. I think it was the carpet around the house. Like when I got my bedroom done, that's about £100 left, I think, and I'm paying like £12.50 a month, something like that. And then once that's done, it's done. Of course, it's another one that's about £400, I think, left on something else. That was to do with the car. There was like something that got fixed on the car. Again, these are little things, but it's like that gets paid, that gets paid. They're not huge sums, you know. I say the two biggest debts I've got are, I think one I owe about just over £1,000 still, and that's when I left my previous job because I took within the tax year used most of my holidays or something like that apparently. So what they said is you've got overpayment of wages or something. So I don't know how they've worked it out, but then apparently I owed them quite a bit. So there's a payment. I have a payment plan in place for that. So I pay them £30 a month or something like that. We come to an agreement, 35, I think it is. And it literally is. It's just chipping away at it, and it's a frustration. You got to pay that back. But again, it's an obligation, isn't it? It's a commitment. So you've just got to get on with it. But again, you see what other people are sort of like hemorrhaging, and you think that ain't so bad. That's one of the bigger ones because if you don't make the payments, it can get bad. But they're a good company anyway. To be totally honest, it was the actual people I was working for. It wasn't very well run. But as a whole, the actual company, the main company, very good company. So that even if you miss a payment, they don't go mental. They just say you're at risk of like you've missed a payment, but it's not the end of the world. The other one I think is like DWP, with sort of when you've had like benefits and things like that. I think there's it's more than you think because I've relied on the system a few times. So like when you get an advance, for instance, it's a pain in the ass. So they deduct it out of any payments, but then once you start working, of course, you stop making the contributions. So then you still owe it. So then later on, you'll get a letter and it'll say, right, you owe us, you owe us this. They usually come up with like a big number, and it's like, well, how does that work out? Then they'll explain to you that was. It's like, oh, crying out loud. And let's say it's about £2,500. I don't know. It's like because it shocked the shit out of me. I don't think it is quite that high, but we'll just say that. So overall, though, like my debts I don't think are any terrible. I think there's people, like I said, if they're saying the average is £34 worth of debt, mine's definitely nowhere near 3, 4. I'd say about 4,000, I guess, because that's the employer, the previous employer having to pay back the wages, and the DWP. If it weren't for those two, it'd be barely anything, would it? So when I think about it, so when you look at maybe my financial situation at the present moment, it looks precarious, but I don't have as much baggage as the average person. The car's paid off. It's like I think that's a big thing for many households. They keep hemorrhaging on the car payments, and I always think, what's the point? What's the point of having the most fancy car off the showroom? And instead, because I learned from mistakes. Like I had a car when I was a lot younger. I was early 20s. I think it was early 20s, about early 20s. It was a Peugeot 206. Now people might think it's a rubbish. I liked that back then. It was a nice blue car. It was almost brand new. I didn't have the best credit at the time. And I had to go for one of those credit places, the car places where they do the deal, and that was because it'd only done a few thousand miles. It hadn't done much. I don't know if it was 20,000 miles, something silly. It was something really low, so it was almost newish. And I think that was about 12 grand total, or something like that. But anyway, it was costing me. I think it worked out about £200 a month I was paying, or £250. See, cars have got a lot more expensive now, and the payments are crazy, aren't they? But even back then, it was that. This is why I wouldn't want to do it again. That was a lot of money. It was I think it was about 250. Yeah, £250 a month. But but when you do the deal, you don't think of all the problems. Like obviously you have to still get the car repaired when it was broken. So there's constant problems, and you still have to pay your car insurance. You still got to do the car tax. You're still paying the petrol. So it's like all these costs mount on top of the thing. So it's like, just because you've got a problem with the car doesn't give you a reason not to make the payments on the car. So let's say there's a fault with the car and it's going to cost you £200 to get it fixed or £300 to get it fixed. You've got to find the £250 on top for that month as well for the payments. And I learned that lesson fast. So personally, I would rather not get a car on finance because I know how hard it is to manage those payments. On top of everything else, it gets heavy fast. So yeah, I would much rather pay for a cheaper car and just be done with it. And I think, cars have got a little bit more expensive now, to be honest. So, like, even if you had £1,000, you're not going to get much because people prefer petrol over diesel and all that. So it's just got a bit more expensive. So I got really lucky with my car. I was adamant I want a Ford because I like Fords. So I was going to get a Ford Focus. I've had one before, but they're a little bit small for me because I'm 5'11", so I'm nearly 6 foot, and it's like I prefer the space of the Mondeo. So I've had an older Mondeo before, and I was going to get another one. I'm just talking general. I know we're going off the cusp here. There was one I was going to buy, and it was a lot cheaper. I think it was like £600. It'd done 350,000 miles or something crazy, and I was like, yeah, because I love Mondeos, and I was going to buy it, and then I realised, that's just stupid. It's going to break. This is dumb. I want a car, but it's like, oh, because I was driving this really small Ford Fiesta that someone who fixed my car regularly, my old Mondeo that broke because the gearbox was going and all sorts, and it was just like it was getting too expensive to keep maintaining it, so I had to scrap it. In hindsight, I just wish I kept maintaining it, to be honest. But he recommended a Ford Fiesta. This lady had kept in a garage for years. This was a 1996 Ford Fiesta. A manual sunroof, manual windows, cassette deck tape. I kid you not, that's what this car was. But it never ever had a problem with it. I had it for a couple of years now. I think for about 2 or 3 years I had that car, and it was tiny. It was only a 1.2 litre engine, I think, or something silly. It was quite embarrassing in all honesty, but that humbled me a lot. That teaches you humility. I kid you not. Like, I'm going to work. So this when I was at a different job. So I'm going to work. I've got the worst car in the whole car park, and it's just like, what? It's a means to an end. It's a mode of transport. But it does, humble you. But again, I wanted something bigger. I wanted something far, but a little bit more modern than 1996. And I wanted my Mondeo again. So, of course, I've got in my head I want a Mondeo, but then I'm realising Mondeos are getting rarer. So I'm thinking, okay, outside the box, we might go for Focus. I put a deposit down on a Ford Focus. I think it's about £1,500, £1,800. But then again, I had this weird feeling I didn't really trust the person doing it, because every time I kept saying, yeah, okay, I can come and sort it out, because I travelled anyway. So anyway, it was a different location. I had to go and collect it, and they said they would deliver it. And then they kept delaying it and saying, oh, yeah, but we've still got to do the clutch repair and we're doing this. I thought, wait a minute, it's supposed to be working. I haven't seen it yet, but based on the information you're giving me. So in the end, I thought, I'm just going to lose the deposit. I don't care. I'd rather lose £100 or whatever I put down than the whole freaking amount, And now it was fortunate luck. There was a Ford Mondeo at an actual garage just around the corner from where my mum lives. So she lives far away from me, and I was visiting, and I thought, I'll have a look. And it was £3,000, and it was the top range model of a Ford Mondeo. Like, literally, I would have had a lower range model. I just wanted my Mondeo again, and it's a newer model than the one I had in the past. And so I was like, I love this car. And literally, like I say, it's the top model, Titanium X. So apparently it's got the engine of an ST and all sorts of shit. So it's like fast as hell. Yeah, I like my car. And it only cost me £3,000. I say only, like some people might think it's a lot of money, but I think it only done 110,000 miles. And I haven't done that much since I got it. I haven't been that crazy with it. So I think it's still less than 120. It hasn't done many miles. So that's still got a lot of life left in it if I maintain it well. I know we've deviated quite a lot here, but I just wanted to show the side of it, that people obsess too much about brand names. Effectively, what people do, they posture as being wealthy and they're poor. I don't posture as anything. I show that I'm poor. But I show how I balance everything, and then hopefully it helps other people just give some perspective on their life, rather than pretend to be anything else. I don't want designer shit, Look at me. I got this. This is a Next t-shirt. I like Next as a brand. I spoke about it before. They're like 2 for £12. They used to be 2 for £8 or 2 for £10. I don't know. I quite like black because it's basic. But, for me, it still looks smart. It's not expensive. I don't have to wear expensive things to look presentable and smart, I don't think, or confident. Clothes don't define you. Your image is your image. Do you see what I mean? Like, I'm happy with what I've got. I don't need to posture as anything else. You'll have people. This is what I make. Again, this is what I'm talking about posturing. You'll have people driving up and down the road with these silly cars with these stupid exhausts making a racket, and it's like slower than my car. My car's unassuming. You wouldn't know driving out that it's like a rocket. But if these cars that roaring down the road thinking they're really fast, if I was next to them driving mine, it would just blast past them. And it's like, it's unassuming, isn't it? I don't need to present. I don't need to posture, you know? So yeah, as I say, I think people they often judge wrong. So like I was saying, you could meet someone and maybe they've got a flash job or they act like they've got a nice job, and maybe you get to know them. They hide a lot. They're secretive, and it turns out they've got all this debt. They can't even afford the car they're driving around in. Everything's flashy. Everything's there for show because they want to seem cool. They want to seem like they've got it together. They want to be impressive. I'm just more down to earth than that shit. I'm just simple. I'm just simple. Life's hard at the moment. Yeah, life's hard at the moment, but I'll work my way out of it. And as soon as things start picking up, I haven't got that much to recover. It's a good place to be, I think. So, like I said, on the face of it, especially based on yesterday's video, it would seem like my life's a mess, but it's not. It's manageable. I've been managing it. So yeah, I'm not that far away from repairing once things stabilize. So, and like I say, it'd be an added stress if you had car payments on top during a heavy period of your life. And I think you really should. People need to start looking further forward, because when you are finding yourself in that position, you don't have as much control as you think. You literally can have your car repossessed and all sorts of shit. If you go down that path of having everything on finance. So I think just be really careful of that. Like you don't need an image. My first car was the most. Like I said, that Ford Fiesta was embarrassing. You should have seen my first car. Let me see if we can just. Let me see if I can just get it up. I'll show you what my first car is. This obviously isn't my first car, but I'm going to try and get it up. It's the same model. Oh, what year was it? It was really old. Was it 1987 or something? I think it was, because I'm seeing pictures of it and it looks just like my car. My very first car. It was black, so it didn't look too bad, as bad as some of them. Yeah. Here you go. Have a look. Right. This is my very first car. Not this exact car, but it is this model. It's exactly like that. That's why I said 1987. I'm pretty sure it was something like that. A Nissan Micra 1 litre. It wasn't even. They say 1 litre. I swear it was like 999. What do you call it? It's not litres, is it? It's CL, I think. But yeah, this is what it looked like. And it's got the steering wheel. I don't have to show an internal. The steering wheel for this car was huge for the size of the car. You normally have like steering wheel here. It was out here. It was crazy. That's my very first car, and I'll tell you some things I did that I weren't supposed to do. So I literally drove. My mum and my parents had gone away on holiday, and I did this part-time job because I was doing college as well. I think I'd left college at that point, but I was still doing the job part-time. And I hadn't passed my driving test yet. And I still drove it into work, and I shouldn't have. That's one of the stupidest things I've done, but thankfully it all went okay. But the people at work, the supervisors and things, they knew I hadn't passed. And they said, "If you passed your test," and I said, "No." And they said, "Well, why have you? You better not drive that again, or we're going to tell your mum." And I thought, how dare you? But yeah, okay. So that was one of the stupid things I've done in life, and yeah, I don't condone it, but yeah, it was that little sort of micro. But yeah, anyway, and as embarrassing as that is, that was still a mode of transport. And yeah, of course, after that, I've made some silly decisions as well, and some decisions I like, even though financially probably not the wisest. In the past when I was younger, always had two cars. Always had two cars, because what it was, every time a car broke, it was always expensive to fix. So, like I said, I had the Peugeot, and it was costing me £250 a month, but I can't remember what happened. Something broke on that. I even had a Peugeot 306 before that at one point. I loved my 306. That kept getting problems. So before I had the 206, I had this 306 I had from a bank loan, and I bought the car, and it kept having issues. And then I ended up getting I've had two Ford Mondeos. I had one I had to go all the way, because I'm in like Essex, and I had to go all the way to Romford to get one off someone and then drive that home. And there was another one that got delivered to me. I got on eBay, and I kept getting these Mondeos every time a car broke because it was cheaper for me to go and buy a Mondeo, oh not Mondeo, an Escort, a Ford Escort. So there was two Escorts, one each time, different times. There was always like clutch is going or something's going, but it's functional. So I would literally have to keep changing my car insurance over, change the car insurance to the new car, leave that one uninsured on the driveway. It's all risky, but you're doing it all above board. And then that car would start having problems. So then it's like, all right, we're going to scrap that. And now we've got to get that one fixed. But that's how I kept operating. And it was always this case of buy a cheap car while I wait to fixing the other one. I just had these cars on the go all the time. And I even had I think I had 2 Ford Focuses. I think I have. I definitely had one. Yeah, I've had a few cars, but it's like I always found the convenience of having 2. It was always easier. Like when you had a bigger driveway, you can do things like that, you know. But yeah, like I said, you'd say that's foolish, but I enjoyed that. And sometimes it reached a point. Sometimes where I did that, you know. Even when I had the 206, I had I don't think I had the Focus in the end. I think I had a Ford Focus and the 206 just sitting on the driveway. And it reached a point where every time I was in either car, this is what I talk about. You don't need the fancy cars to enjoy cars, man. I get excited because I tell you how it felt. I absolutely loved my cars. So every time I got in one of them, I was like, yeah, I love this car. I love this car. I'll probably get rid of the other car. If we have to get rid of one, I'll probably get rid of the other one. Then I'd get in that car and I'm like, oh, yeah. This is the car. This is the car. I like this one. And it was always fun just jumping in and out of either of them, you know. But you can only really insure one at a time, so you don't know what one you're going to have insured at a given moment. But it's always cool. And, you do feel a bit privileged, I think, to have 2. I mean, they're not expensive cars, of course, but it's like, it's still nice to have the options, you know. But yeah, anyway. And they weren't financed. The only financed car was like I say, my second car was the 306 that I got through a bank loan. And the 206 was later on, and that was through a finance company doing it the proper way. But the other cars were all paid for, you know, like they weren't ever expensive cars. That's the crazy thing. Most of them like £500 or less. You know, the Mondeo I had, someone had upgraded to a more modern Focus, and they were just trying to get rid of the Mondeo off their driveway. And it happened to be that point. This isn't my one now. My other Mondeo I had, the one I absolutely loved. My Focus, the clutch had gone. And again, but these are older cars. By the time we pay a clutch, I think you're looking at £1,000. I can't remember how much it costs. But anyway, by the time you're doing things, it's costing a fortune. It's either the clutch or the gearbox, either way. So that got scrapped, and then I was like desperate for another car, and I'm trying to look and like online, and there was one local enough, and he was just trying to get rid of it. So he took a bit of money off the top just to get rid of it because I only had a certain amount. I was like, I'd have it, but I've only got this amount, and I literally haven't got any more. And he was happy to take that, and then I got that car. So like I say, most of my cars are less than £1,000 anyway. I just made an exception for the Mondeo because I just really wanted it, and it was like, I want something that's going to last a little longer than something that's going to keep breaking. But there's no need to get finances of 20 grand cars, 15 grand cars, 10 grand cars. They still have the same problems. This is the thing. This is the thing. I think people, you see it all the time, especially with like Range Rovers and stuff. They're way too big. I wouldn't even want a Range Rover. If someone offered me one for free, I don't even want it. It's too wide. It's stupid. You can't even park the damn thing. That's why people park like arseholes. They just park so no one else can get in and out of their cars. It's just stupid. They're not practical in the UK. There's no room for them. The roads aren't built for that. So I just think it's just again, it's just a status piece. I don't need status. Don't need that nonsense. Nah, that's too much for me. I don't even like SUVs. I don't even want one. I like my car. So even if someone offered me my car or a Range Rover, I want my car. I don't want the bloody Range Rover. Sod that shit. Plus, I heard loads of problems anyway. And again, that's what I'm saying. Even the more modern cars just get problems, and you're still making payments. So, to sum up, it's worth looking at that in your life based on this information, because I think it's good to have that little reflection, because it does make you feel a little bit better about where you're at in life. You might not have a lot of money now, and it might seem like life's really heavy, but just think, have you got a lot of debt? And if you haven't got a lot of debt, you're actually winning. Because I know people, especially in my life, like family members and stuff, there's some that you'd think could do really well, and then you find out later on they're just like incredible amounts of debt. and they keep adding to that debt. Yet on the outside, they look like they've got it all. They look like they've got the nice home, they've got the holidays regularly, they've got the nice car, they've got all these things. And from the outside, you're thinking, bloody hell, they're doing great. It turns out they've got just a massive amount of debt all the time. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not on the outside doing as well as you, and I don't have as many things as you have, but I definitely don't have the debt you're carrying either. So I feel a lot more stable in myself because I haven't got as much baggage, you know. So that's nice, So then I don't feel so bad about my circumstance because, again, at any moment it can turn around for the better, can't it? Where it's a lot harder to turn around for the better an immense amount of debt. Again, it's all about taking action. I'm not saying I've always been brilliant. I had I've been transparent. I even wrote it in my book. I had a debt relief order back in 2018, I think it was. So I was going through family court and I had to sort the finances out after. It was getting too much. And I realized if you get something like that, it's going to be 6 years of hell. Like literally, you're going to be ostracized credit wise. You can't get anything. And I was like, well, you're not really going to have anything anyway because his credit's gone to shit because of the problems that. So effectively, it's just draw a line in the sand. So even if anyone's got debts now, as long as you're prepared to sacrifice for a period of time, you can sort it out. So it's be pragmatic. And that's what I did. And that literally ended in January this year. So I'm just trying to restore myself now. So that's what I say. That's why I got the credit card. And that's why I've used the credit card. It's been useful. And it's just make the payments, though. Try and be on time all the time and don't miss them. And that's really what I'm doing. I'm being serious with it, And I'm not letting it go crazy. I'm just trying to rebuild. But fortunately, I'm rebuilding, I think, from what I perceive to be weakness is actually a position of strength. Because you're rebuilding without having like an immense amount of debt looming over. Because easily you could have ended up with other issues on top of compounding upon others, and then there could be loads now, And I don't obviously there's probably a few things I'm missing, but overall, I don't have that huge debt there. The salary, when over the next month or so, I expect my salary to be close to whatever that is. The 34 there. I don't think it'll be 34. I think again I'll be looking around about 28 to 32. If we're looking at like the jobs I've done in the past. Hopefully that has helped people, I think, reflect upon their own life because, like I said, you might think you're doing bad and things ain't going well, but you're probably doing better than you think. And even if you're not, you can address it. It's like I said, if you've got that, if you had like £34,000 worth of debt, you could deal with that. I'm not saying get debt relief order like I did, which is a lower form of bankruptcy, but it is an insolvency. I'm not saying everybody has to go down that path, but the alternative is you could get like I think it's IVA or something, and you pay it up every month. But either way, you still can't really get credit anyway. So I never saw the point of that. Like, what's the point of keep hemorrhaging? You might as well just draw a line in the sand. And just accept that for 6 years you're not going to be able to get credit. So obviously, if you plan to get a mortgage or anything, that's going to be out the question in that period, and anything else. But I think, like I say, I think there's this trend of just trying to keep up with everything, and it's like at some point you just got to let it go. So, like for instance, okay, you're not going to be able to get a mobile phone on contract. But guess what? Your phone's probably going to last 6 years anyway. You don't need the latest freaking thing. Most people are not playing games on it. You don't need the latest hardware. It's fine. As long as you've got a decent camera for the most part, if you like photography. And the fact it has a half decent screen and it's smooth enough that it's not stuttering. So it's modern. If you've got a modern phone today, I have no doubt it's going to last 6 years anyway. So you don't need the latest contracts, do you? See, do you know what I mean? All these little things. It's like, what do you actually lose by writing off your debts if you have a substantial amount of debts? What are you really losing? Access to credit that you don't even need half the time anyway. You might as well find your freedom. Of course, again, to get that, you do need to be earning a certain amount of money. If you're earning over the threshold, you can't anyway. But that's why you get debt advice. But it's better to deal with things rather than bury your head in the sand, for starters. But the other thing is, of course, be diligent with what you're spending and the commitments you have. Like for me personally, I don't like long-term debt. It does my head in. I don't like repaying over long periods. It just drives you crazy because you get fed up paying it, And I know that about myself. So I try not to get long-term debt because I know what I'm like. I know it'll do my head in. So I try to if I'm going to do something, let's try and keep it over 12 months. Okay, the monthly payments might be higher, but I know I can sort it out. If you give me over 3 years, that's a long time to keep paying the same thing over and over again, Um, so I think it's worth having that in your head. How does that feel to you? Keep paying for it even after you've had it a long time ago, you know, because you might whatever you're paying for, you might not even be using anymore. Um, anyway, I know this is completely sidetracked really from majority of the content I do, and maybe not even interesting to people. But at the same time, I like to talk. I like to be transparent. I like to talk about things because I think you know what, to most people it's probably boring and they wouldn't have got this far, and that's fine. But I think to the right person, maybe it's refreshing and helpful to see a different perspective on things, you know, because if I can just help one person, I think, see that life isn't all about the material, superficial shit. Yeah, if you do well in life, there's nothing wrong with having some luxuries and having a decent life and having some, maybe having different experiences. But life shouldn't just be about that. That shouldn't be the main focus. It's nice to have nice things, but only if it's affordable and it's not detrimental to us, you know. But at the same time, I think it's appreciating the little things. Like someone else might like I like my car, but someone else might think, "Oh no, that's not my type," because everybody has their own type of car. You know, it's not old. It doesn't even look old. You know, um, but to someone else, maybe it's no interest to them. To me, it's like I think it's great, and it's not cost like crazy amounts of money. So for me, it works. But yeah, don't get caught up in. If you can get away from the idea of brands, all of a sudden life makes a lot more sense. You don't need massive logos going across your shirt. You don't need a stupid. Someone else could be wearing a. This is the silly thing. Someone else could be wearing a shirt, right? Just like mine. And maybe it's got, I don't know the brands. Let's say it's got Ralph Lauren or something crap, right? Or Calvin Klein. And it's literally got a Calvin Klein label inside here. You wouldn't know anywhere else that this is Calvin Klein apart from this label here. And yet mine is Next, which is store brand, which I like, Next anyway. And they keep putting the price up slightly. So, I mean, it could get a little bit more expensive. But anyway, mine's got Next. So 2 for 12. Let's say it's 2 for 12. I don't know exact prices anymore. And let's say someone's got a Calvin Klein one, looks exactly like mine, but it's got a Calvin Klein label inside there, and maybe it's 30, 40 quid. What's the point? Who gives a shit? Like, who cares? Like, I don't. And I think if I can just get through to just one person to understand that brands don't matter that much. Yeah, quality can differentiate, so sometimes there is an extenuating circumstance. Like, for instance, trainers. I think if you wear your shoes, you want something comfortable. You wear them a lot. There's no point just trying to skimp down to £20 for a pair of trainers when they're the things you're actually trying to traverse this world with, make your feet sore, uncomfortable, just to save a few quid. I think that's something you're going to use maybe all year. So maybe invest in something that's going to actually make your feet comfortable. So yeah, I don't see the point of doing stupid things with that. But other things, I don't really see too deep a meaning to it, you know. Again, each their own. If someone's into fashion, that's their hobby. So I think if you've got a hobby, invest in it. So I've got no problem with it. If someone's, each their own. It's just I have other things I'd rather spend my money on. That's the thing. So I'd rather go cheaper on my clothes and have other things I like. If I was just a fashion guru, then of course, that's all I care about is my clothes. I want to look good. That's fine. Anyway, I don't want to detract too much, go too much on tangents and things. But like I say, if I can just help people just maybe learn from my mistakes to a degree and just have a fresh perspective, you can save yourself so much hassle in the future. Because you literally, by making the wrong choices, we make our life so hard. And it's not good. It's not. At the very least, try to do that bit. If you're younger, for instance, you're just starting out for early jobs. I know it's tempting to keep. Obviously, look, you don't. Realistically, when you're very young, I don't think you have to save too deep. But I think just prepare a little bit. I would always urge on the point of do your driving lessons as soon as you can. Personally, that's where I would. That's what I did. So like I wasn't making that much money when my first job. I was doing part time. I was getting, I think, like £60, £65, £70 a week because I was only doing like evenings and weekends at this job, and it wasn't like crazy money. And then I was just putting in I just wanted driving. All my head was focused on was driving lessons. I just wanted to be able to drive. So I was doing 1 lesson a week, and then I started increasing it to 2 lessons a week, and that was literally using near enough all my money. I'm not saying all my money. I think it was using quite a lot. The lessons weren't as dear as they are now, but it was still quite a bit of money to me. And that's what I was doing, 2 lessons a week. And then eventually I took the test, and fortunately for me, I passed first time. But that's not boasting. I mean, my very first day, I went straight on the main road. I got confused on the roundabout. People wouldn't let me over. and I ended up stuck on this grass verge where you get where people going on the I don't know what you call it now. Oh, where you merge with the road. I can't remember what you call it now because my mind's gone with it. But anyway, so I ended up on this I had to reverse off and then go up the main road again. And it's like that was an experience, but you learn. We learn. I know I said to completely distract from this, but to show. Yeah, I just think sometimes it's about sacrificing for something, and then you open up the world to yourself. So I think sometimes there is extenuating circumstances, but I would say as soon as you are free, I'd say just get to saving that £1,000 just to give yourself a safety net in life, and then you get a credit card if you need. Everyone always told me don't get a credit card, but if you actually learn about the use of credit cards, it actually makes sense to have one. First of all, it gets you out of an emergency. Second of all, it actually ensures your purchases. So if you buy something with your normal debit card, for instance, that agreement is between you and the seller. So if there's a real problem, you might be able to talk to your bank, and they might be able to reverse the charges, the cash, whatever they call it, callback. I don't know. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but they don't have to. And it's like that's literally you're risking your money. But if you actually use a credit card, the debt is between the credit card issuer and the merchant. Because you go through the credit card, so the credit cards do deal with you, but they're actually doing the transaction with them. So any issue is between them two, not you. So you're not responsible. So that's really important, and a lot of people don't realize that. So effectively, you'd be safer, financially safer, if you never used your debit card and only ever used the credit card. Then if you think about it, no one on the planet, no merchant, no one would ever know your bank details. No one would ever have access to that bank account. They wouldn't even know it exists because you only ever pay your credit card company. Now, that only works, of course, if you can get a high enough credit limit that it's useful. And second of all, you're not stupid and go crazy spending all the money, because most of us, we want things. And if there's an idea there's an extended amount of money available, you might go crazy. Anyway, that's maybe a little bit of lesson on credit there that even I've been figuring out. But yeah, I'd say security-wise, that makes sense, personally. But yeah, anyway, let's have a look at the comments. Let's see where everyone else is at, because I find this curious. I haven't got anyone to feedback off. So I think sometimes these are good. Let me see if I can... Oh, it's not going to let me. Oh, that's annoying. Window video. I wanted to do the window. Oh, can I move it over? I can, but it's cut it. Wait a minute. I have to do cuts sometimes to make it fit. I just want to try it, because if anyone's got this far, you might be interested along with me to just get to the end of this. There we go. Hopefully you can see it. Hopefully. Anyway, everything else I've got, but need to get out of £8,000 credit card. Anyone know how? Someone said pay plan. I went with... Oh, crap. Who are they? Oh, I can't remember what they're called now. I don't know if it's called Debt Advice. I can't remember who the company was. That's weird. I can't remember who they were. If I heard the name, of course, I'd know. I like this because everyone's going to compare to what this list is. Lower salary, lower mortgage, but no debit or credit cards. So they've got lower salary and lower mortgage. Oh, okay. So their house is smaller. They're less value, but they don't have debit or credit cards. Have savings and bought my first house at 22. Have a very detailed spreadsheet to manage and budget. That's the thing. People might think that's boring, but it's actually really smart. I'm not like that. I've got everything in my head. Sometimes if it's like a specific month, I might write it down to get some perspective. But a lot of the time, I just know. I know all the bits. But organised like that, I think is good. And someone's put that is not doing well. I think because the debt is crazy at 34 grand. I get that. Some people might moan about the salary, but not everybody gets high salaries. Someone's put exactly. That's the creator said that exactly. The point of the post. I'm doing way better. And that's the thing. It does give you perspective. And someone's put, that was me 12 years ago, debt free now. Feel sorry for the others though. Best thing I did was stay in, cut my expenses to the minimum, buy cheap shit. um, shitbox to run. I think they meant the car. Love watching all the falls with nice cars. Yeah, exactly. That's what they're saying. They've learnt their lesson. Don't hemorrhage money, and they've started saying it that they're not. It's like I'm a simple person as well, to be totally honest. I like to do things just like everybody else, but I'm quite happy spending time indoors. It doesn't cost things to do that. People are always trying to show off all of something or trying to impress. I don't live a life trying to impress anyone. I've got no interest in that shit at all. So what people might consider boring is actually strategic. It's sensible, and sometimes people live beyond their means, and it's not sustainable. But hence, what I said about the family member that's got perceived to have more, but the debt's out of control, and it's like, so that's going to catch up eventually. Oh crap! Right, wait. If you lost it, then let's get that off a minute. So don't keep moving. Happiness isn't a figure. Someone's put very much below average. Then, yeah. So of course, it's not that. There's not as many comments as I was hoping for that video, but hopefully it's given people's perspective on their own life, like I say, because that's what immediately what it did to me. It gave me perspective. It was a case of, you know what, you ain't doing as bad as we think we are, and there's always room to grow. There's always room to improve. But with me, it's just a case of improve the salary side, everything else falls into place. And it's like that's nice to know that it's not going to take long to transition back to some semblance of normality, because I just don't have that much debt to recover. That's the other thing. Like, for instance, you input finance improve even with my previous employer where I'm paying we paying it. It's like, yeah, if I had the money and I saved, maybe you save for a few, maybe you make the payments normally, but you save for a few months and you can just pay it off in full. Now, on the one side, you'd say that's great, but there's no interest anyway. So, is it, even if you had, like, let's say you had over £1,000 that you could just pay them and be done with it? The other side of that is £30 isn't a lot, is it? So it's nice to be clear, but when something isn't actually interest rated, it's always better to pay off any debts you have that have interest to stop it compiling. Otherwise, you've got something that you think is this amount, but really it's adding up to become this amount. So something that's interest free isn't so much a priority, I don't think, to repay in full. Personally, some people like it just out of their head, and I get that, but sometimes it's not pragmatic, and it's just a bit figure things out as you can. What's the priority? What's this one? Blah blah. But yeah, this gave me a good sense of perspective.